There are many histories of the internet and the World Wide Web out there, and you can feel more than free to go and look at some. There's the BBC one, but you'll find plenty. The complicated thing is that we confuse two terms. We confuse the term the internet and the World Wide Web. They're not the same thing. The internet, which is what we tend to call it, is actually the wiring, the cables, the things that actually sort of connect into the back of our computers. The World Wide Web is the pages we look at. The internet is much older than the World Wide Web. In fact, as you can see here, it goes all the way back to 1969. But actually, it was very little use. Very few buildings were joined together with cables. And in 1973, there were still only 35 users, 35 people using what would go on to become the internet. The ARPANET's an early version of it. So what we're really interested in is what point did the internet become useful to ordinary people? And we can date that to a scientist called Tim Berners-Lee, who came up with the idea of saying what we need is an easy way to make pages which anybody can look at any computer. And he devised a language in which these pages could be easily written. And the language he devised was HTML. And HTML was the language which allowed, see a lot of things going on, a lot of things to easily be converted into pages which could easily be looked at on the computers. So from our point of view, you're really talking about what we would consider to be the internet, really only going back to 1991. And really most users really talking about the introduction of the web browser, what we'd now call things like Chrome or Internet Explorer, and that really goes back to 1993. So the World Wide Web, the internet, its use is not really as old as many people think it is. It's a common use, really only goes back to the early 90s. It's really only been around and commonly used for 20 odd years.